Previously on the road to 9.
It's
No.
when they kill the Tusken kids, okay?
Oh, I love the slaughter of children. It's so fun.
The Clone Wars TV series could be seen as a band-aid for the prequels. A way to answer unanswered questions, explain plot holes, and fix mistakes that viewers perceive exist in the prequel movies. It could also be said that it deepens characters, strengthens the prequels, and broadens the Star Wars universe in ways that would be difficult in mainline saga films. Regardless of where you sway, something it receives near universal praise for is the reintroduction of fan-favourite and assumed corpse, Maul's return, an act that could have come across as a gimmick or a cheat, is handled with typical Dave Filoni excellence, developing a character worthy of continuing into Star Wars Rebels and crossing back into live action in Solo. His return also serves as a crucible for Obi-Wan's character, taking him from good to great. Star Wars has a reputation for introducing cool-looking, marketable characters who sell lots of toys but then don't really do much in their respective movies. Boba Fett set the template in Empire Strikes Back by showing up, looking badass, and then one movie later... Phasma does the same in the sequel trilogy, and Maul in the prequels, though he never made it past movie 1. Maul's return in the Clone Wars proved a real turning point. Character resurrection is tricky, and generally met with skepticism. For a show that was already good, managing to bring back Maul in an interesting and challenging way cemented the show as essential to the Star Wars galaxy. For the 5th episode in the Road to 9, we're joined by Tyler from the Chatter Squadron to talk resurrections, gangsters, and what Maul's return means for the wider Star Wars galaxy.
Let's talk about Maul coming back. Tyler, what did you think?
So the first time I ever saw that Maul was back, I was actually at Universal Studios. So this was before the Disney buyout, obviously. And I saw like a miniature of Darth Maul on some spider legs. And I was like, what the heck is this? I was so like... I have no clue what this was. And it wasn't until years later that when I got the resurgence of love for Star Wars that I watched the Clone Wars and somehow almost forgot that Maul was a half Spider-Man. And when I did watch it again, I'm like, okay, this makes sense. He's crazy. He found half a spider and a snake put him onto it. I don't know. But whatever happened, it started to make sense. And then the story kind of took me from there. But my first reaction was like, what? This is kind of weird. I thought he died, which is what a lot of people probably thought when they watched Solo.
A friend of mine recently watched Solo, and he did have that thing of trying to work out how Solo fits together with Phantom Menace, and he'd get it a little bit. And I was like, oh no, you just got to watch Clone Wars and this. And he was like, oh, okay, no, that makes cool. Because
you just gotta watch 6 seasons of it.
yeah.
It's easy. It's fine.
It's probably the first thing that's happened in Star Wars where, like, you grow up watching Star Wars and the weird stuff, because Star Wars has got tons of weird shit in it, but you just kind of grow up with it. So it's like, yeah, cool. Oh yeah, that's the gangster slug, whatever, like, what of it? But then I think that was the first time that I just actually something popped in my head. And I went, yeah, Star Wars is weird.
Yeah, super weird.
The guy that got cut in half is a spider.
Was it the witch magic that brought his brother back to life? Which thing was the weirdest?
It wasn't the snake. I really liked the visual symbolism of that snake, like leading Savage, through that hellhole, like that hellscape.
Eden, basically.
Yeah, but like this backwards Eden, like, and before they go there, how he says, there's the horned guy and he brings things down from the surface, like he pulls them down and they never return.
It's pretty good.
Something like that. I was like, he's the devil. Like, But yeah, that just seeing Maul with spider legs, it was like, yep. One, he's alive. How the hell's he alive? And then what? He's got spider legs, and it's not just as you would kind of imagine.
Yeah, they're not cool spider legs. They're kind of very hodgepodge, aren't they?
Yeah, and an abdomen. Like,
yeah, like
That's the bit that got me.
It makes me wonder what that thing was before he was tacked onto it. Like, did someone just sit there and go, I could probably make a really good robotic spider. I have some free time on the weekend. I'm going to go try that out. Because you're right. It wasn't like tactically that way. What's in the abdomen? I think that's what we're all wondering.
Just, like some guys is like, right, I want to make spider legs, but I also like big fat asses. And it's just like, that's what I'm going to do. Didn't work out, didn't take off. He's like, right, dump it on the junk planet.
That's gone in rubbish.
That's definitely a rubbish world.
Oh, God, it was so weird because like even up to then, like you've met Mother Talzin and all of that. You've seen the Night Sisters and I thought, oh, this is cool. Like, and seeing something that's like the Force, but not the Jedi, not the Sith.
Yeah.
This other. I thought that was really cool. But then, it's kind of bonkers when Maul turns up.
Well, I think it eventually does, like that plot line of the Sith or dark side magic kind of carries you from this junk world all the way to Mother Talzin again.
Yeah.
Through Savage. And I just really like the idea of like Maul kind of finding his origins finally, but not through an origin story. It was told in such a way that it was like, this is where you're from, and look at what you become now. We have to go back. And that's when the story started to make more sense. And that's when the story started to kind of graft into a different direction that made me say, you know what, this makes sense. And this makes me want to continue on even past the spider legs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting as well, because you sort of, your reintroduction to Maul is actually, he's quite sympathetic in a sense, because he's obviously he's lost his mind and all that.
He's messed up.
He's completely messed up, and he's all teary, and he's and all that, and he's terrified. And then Mother Talzin does that kind of crazy thing where she just pulls that out of his mind.
Yeah.
Like all that madness and all that is all this like black smoke, and then he's just like pure focused rage. You're like, no, I shouldn't be sympathetic for this guy. He is. Yeah, I think, he's just hardcore villain after that point.
Yeah, my therapy doesn't cover that in my insurance.
How good would that be?
Everything out of my head.
Yeah, that'd be great. Save you a fortune. Just someone comes over and is like, whoop, whoop, whoop. Brilliant.
That reintroduction just before Mother Talzin starts pulling everything out of his brain when they land, and he won't come out of the ship. And Savage is like, fine, you stay there. But just before that, the way he's cowering in the corner and without realizing it, the Force is like pulling the crates in and shielding him. And,
that's cool.
And Hello Greedo said he acts like a dog that's been beaten and mistreated.
Or, I mean, it's sort of the same way, like a kid having to go to his grandma's house and he doesn't want that kiss that he has to get every time, and he's in the back of the car just like, I'm not even here. I'm not here.
Yeah, that's it. I'm asleep.
She does this thing where she squeezes my cheeks. I hate it, Savage. You know that.
Yeah. It's like she's always just like pulling my cheeks and like taking all my madness out and setting me on a course for massacres.
My madness.
Yeah.
I worked hard for this
madness.
madness.
Not her business. Giving me new legs. I want a big fat spider ass.
You know what? One thing I've noticed, and there was a point that you made, and I want to come back to it, but just before we do, is how presumptuous of everyone that they, whenever he's knocked out or whenever he's incapacitated, they're just like, we're just going to give you the legs that we think are better.
Yeah, he's going to give you new legs.
So it's like, you know, he turns up on the junk planet cut in half. Someone's gone, yeah, this guy wants spider legs.
Yeah.
And then Mother Talzin's like pulling the crazy out of him. It's like, yeah, he wants these like bird legs.
Yeah, like these like
with these talons. That's what he wants.
Legs. Yeah.
And then
the Mandalorians just give him legs.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, he wants feet. He wants to have fake shoes, like boots.
I do like actually that when they give him his new feet and all that, and it makes him shorter than Savage, like quite considerably shorter. So, and they even like make sure you know it, because Savage stands up and hits the light, and Maul doesn't like, oh yeah, no, he's just knocked a good foot off his height, like, but yeah, that's pretty cool.
The point I wanted to come back to that you said, it was about origins.
And I thought it was really clever going through the way that Dooku and whatnot went after Savage, because doesn't Dooku have Savage as like his apprentice for a short period of time?
Yeah, because I think Savage is supposed to replace Ventress.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's all put in through Townsend and Ventress. Something that I always want to say when I talk about Savage is say Savage Ventress, because Asajj Ventress, Savage, they go too close together. That's always something that's bothered me. But I love Asajj. She's might be my favorite part of the Clone Wars, and her kind of continuing that storyline, even through what happens with Maul, she has those ripple effects through that as well. And then, of course, bringing it over to the Night Sisters, it's all kind of interconnected. I would have liked to see a little bit more of Asajj and Maul, but that's the thing. They kind of have a very similar origin story. Surface level things, they're from the same place, but they both left. They're both extremely troubled. Maybe just people from Dathomir are very troubled just by nature. I don't know. But they both kind of have that similar thing. And they have that same cult following of wanting someone who's just like mysterious and someone we don't understand, but also really BA. And I don't know. I just like that they kind of gave Maul a similar backstory to her, but we've known about him for such a long time that it gives a different perspective to what we've already seen.
Yeah, so it's almost like Mother Talzin's thing. It's like an academy for not failed, but Sith apprentices. They send Maul, doesn't work, then Ventress, then Savage, and then they stop. I think after that, isn't it like third time's the charm? It's like, right, just wipe them out. This is going nowhere.
Right, exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, that is what Maul started out as. He was basically just a Sith assassin. In Legends, we know he doesn't really focus too much on the Force. He even gets trained by non-Force wielders in physical combat to fight Force wielders. So his whole job was just to fight. He was just a caged animal that Palpatine would let out every once in a while, and then he got seen by a Jedi, and it's like, well, we're here.
During an early fan screening in 2012, Clone Wars creator Dave Filoni revealed that it was actually George Lucas's idea to bring Maul back. It would seem that as much as the fans weren't through with Maul, Lucas wasn't either. What makes Filoni's work so interesting and exciting is that if the easy route is available, he usually won't take it. In The Phantom Menace, Maul has 2 lines of dialogue and pretty much zero characterization outside of backflips, an incredibly sweet double lightsaber, and an allusion to at last having revenge on the Jedi.
At last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we will have revenge.
And then he's sliced in 2. The next time we meet Filoni's Maul, he's unhinged, a broken shell seething with a hatred that has kept him alive.
My hatred kept my spirit intact even though my body was not. Yet I was lost and became a rabid animal, and such is how you found me.
And beneath it, we discover a mastermind of rage and cruelty, and a strategist that can play into the vanity and insecurities of lesser men like Pre Vizsla. Filoni's Star Wars stories often zig when you expect them to zag, leaving you shocked at storylines and thinking about characters and events in a way that you might not have expected. With Maul's return, it would have been easy to shoehorn him into the Clone War as a blunt instrument, a Grievous-style character leading troops and attacking the Republic. What was less expected was for him to form a criminal empire and take over Mandalore.
He gets his life back. He gets his ability to think straight, and just be so focused on his rage back. He gets easier to walk through doors' legs.
Nice.
Which means doors open for him.
Nice.
And one of those doors is he decides that he's going to go after being a gangster, being a crime lord. And he does it pretty well.
Well, at first they try and
take over the pirates.
And Hondo manages to repel them with Kenobi. But then, the next bit's the big bit, the good bit, the important bit.
Yeah, like it's only because the pirates find them. Isn't that
the Mandalorians
right?
find them? Because
that's right.
They're
It's the
floating in
other
that
way
box,
around.
aren't they? And
That's
the
right.
and it's just Mandalorians stumble on them.
That's when, especially in the Clone Wars, you really just finish them off. They kill, I believe, Adi Gallia.
Yes.
With
Savage does, and then Obi-Wan fends them both off and cuts off Savage's arm. And then they fly away.
The pirates shoot off Maul's leg.
Yeah.
One of his legs. Yep. And so then, they get messed up.
Yeah. And the spaceship gets blown up.
Yeah. But then they're found in space, just floating, almost frozen. And it almost is like the start of a horror movie. The whole beginning to the Mandalorian crime boss whole thing, because it's like this ship from outer space with these things that have been there for a long time, this evil that's inside. And then, these people take them in and repair them, which I don't know how great of an idea that was by Pre Vizsla, but he repairs them and everything, and they are there, and they're going to, alien them, basically. They're going to kill everybody.
Pre Vizsla is not exactly an ideas man. And Maul figures that out. And I guess that's the thing.
That's all he wants to do.
Yeah. He's one-dimensional is... Like, if you look up one-dimensional Star Wars character, it's probably Pre Vizsla. Yeah, I think he's one of my least favorite characters, probably in all of Star Wars. I gotta say,
really,
yeah. Wow. Love Jon Favreau. Yeah, I think he did a great job with it. But if there was going to be something that turned me off Mandalorian stories, it's Pre Vizsla.
I don't think I feel that passionate about him.
Drives me nuts.
Maybe that's the thing. It's just kind of like, I can take it or leave it. He kind of comes in, you're like, this guy's a bit of a dick, and the next minute it's just...
Well, that was the bit I was like, yes,
finally.
He's finally gone.
The crazy thing about the whole Maul taking over Mandalore, becoming a crime boss, all of that, it felt like there was a defined beginning, middle, and end. They had this arc completely thought out, which Clone Wars is amazing, but they have a lot of stuff that isn't completely thought out. It's usually one episode, or maybe an episode and then another episode later on. They kind of complete this thing, but this was basically a movie from beginning to end, where they get found in the ship, they go down there, and immediately Maul starts to kind of put together a scheme of how he's going to get this job done, and how he's going to find Kenobi, and how, which is just great. And I think even before this too, when did he lure Kenobi in?
I think, it's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? Because a lot of the Maul episodes, Kenobi will come into them in the third episode. There'll be I think in the first kind of trilogy where it's revenge, Brothers Revenge and whatever, Kenobi only appears in the last one where they lure him in by killing the village, I think.
Yeah.
And then the same with this one. I think the first episode is the Mandalorians find them. The second is building this criminal empire. And it's not until, again, I think Maul appears on a hologram and is like, I've got your missus here.
Yeah.
Come alone. And he does. Because he obviously does.
Yeah.
And I think I do quite like that in the Clone Wars, where sometimes they will just give you just a whole couple episodes where it's not even got any movie characters in it. Obviously it has Maul and everything, but so many new characters. And I think at the end he lures Kenobi in with Satine, who is one of my favorite characters.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
But Maul becoming the crime lord is amazing, because we're able to see the Pikes again. I like the Pikes.
Yeah, Pikes cool.
The Black Sun, which is great to finally see them, and the way he intimidates them and takes things over. It's so great, especially when he finally is in front of the huts.
Yeah,
and he throws pandemonium all over the place in front of the huts, because they're the longest running crime syndicate for us. Jabba is the biggest crime lord we've known for the longest time, biggest in body and in time. And so seeing him, Maul, in front of them, that was such a crazy, cool thing.
Yeah.
Maul held the power at the end. which is great. And it just kind of kept that story going, that Maul has a plan. And even though Pre Vizsla is kind of there as like, yeah, and I have the plan too, right? And he was just like, yeah. We're both into this together. Anyway, Savad, throw your lightsaber again.
Yeah.
That was so cool because, like I said, I didn't like Pre Vizsla. So watching in one episode, all of a sudden you see kind of like the payoff of what Maul could be and what he could have been. It's just like, yep, cool. He can assess this situation. He can see that Pre Vizsla is a Nimrod.
Yeah.
And just go, yeah, cool. What does he say to him? He's like, the I don't know the exact words, but basically the gravity of the situation escapes you.
Yeah.
It's like the full potential of what could come out of this. It's like, just you go do your Mandalorian thing. I got this.
Yeah.
And the way that then, just because of his ego, Vizsla is like,
oh, it's fine. We'll just double cross these two guys. Not totally
they'll be dead just like everyone else, and then I will rule Mandalore. And it's like,
easy.
You ain't doing shit, buddy.
That's it.
So then, but seeing Maul do that, like just go, yep, that's it. I'm going to do this. And in one episode, he does it.
Yeah.
It's only a single episode, doesn't span across anything else. Like, yep, I am the gangs now.
Yeah, that's it. Well, there's an interesting line in the, I think it's after he's just got his mind back and he's on Dathomir and he's sort of getting his head together. And when he kind of says, everything's out of balance. And Savage says, yeah, no, there's a lot of conflict because of the Clone Wars. And Maul says, it began without me. And it's like, so he knew this was coming. Like this plan's been well in motion and he had a part to play in it, but he just obviously got chopped in half and became a spider legs dude on a junk planet. But I love that idea, the potential of that, of just him being like, no, I knew this was coming, but they got to it before I could be involved in it. There's just this idea that he wasn't just this acrobatic sort of, again, Phantom Menace, all he does, he has like 2 lines of dialogue and he just is a ninja assassin. And it's like, oh no, there's more to his thing, like, and then, I love that.
And he's got mad FOMO.
Crazy FOMO.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I think that's what drives that. I think that's it. That's canon now. What drives Maul is FOMO. And he can't get back in with the Sith because, there's only 2.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, okay, I don't want to miss out. So what am I going to do? I'm going to just take over every crime syndicate. And I think you said something earlier about, is it Master and Apprentice?
Yeah. So like, because we were talking before we were recording, like, what's the Jedi's role in the galaxy and all that. And I just started reading Master and Apprentice, and it is Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan being sent to like investigate the Hutts and stuff like that. So it's like, okay, so if Maul knows that the Jedi are sort of supposed to be looking after these gangsters, but they're off fighting the wars, he knows the gangsters are easy pickings because no one's checking up on them, and then he can just kind of bring them all in, all under one umbrella, and protect them for when the war ends and the Jedi come back. And I was like, this is layers upon layers of stuff that just feels really good and really strong. And it's great.
Yeah, I love that Maul wasn't able to be a part of the Clone Wars, so he thought he would just start a giant war with countless Mandalorians on his own.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, there's a whole planet of Mandalorians, we didn't have to clone one? Man, I'm gonna jump on this.
Yeah.
I also love the name that he gives his crime syndicate, the Shadow Collective.
It's pretty cool.
That's so cool. Just the idea of all these people who are big bosses on planets and systems and whatever, just kind of having this guy who has the biggest stick, basically.
Yeah.
The guy who I'm going to cut everybody's heads off, and you just join me because I'm going to do it either way, really. So I think that's just a great idea. And like we were talking about, it gives Maul a different side to him other than just the caged animal.
Yeah.
Now he's someone who is actually Palpatine's apprentice. He's someone who is there while he's laying out all these plans before he's even Chancellor. And those teachings are finally catching up to him now, even though he's not his apprentice anymore. He's remembering how to think, how to betray people, and how to play people against each other.
So the final part of the Mandalorian
trilogy is Palpatine shows up.
Yeah.
And kills Savage.
Yeah.
Only after Maul basically said something along the lines of like, I was doing this to get your attention, kind of thing.
Yep. Essentially, yeah.
Yeah, and he wants to be his apprentice again.
Yeah.
So the FOMO is definitely there.
There's that great scene of Palpatine telling his second-hand man to prepare his ship back at Coruscant.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, that creepy where he walks into the city. Sidious just walks into the city, goes straight to his throne room, and chokes two of the guards as they slide up the wall and the doors open, and they have that crazy good fight. But you were saying something along the lines of Maul saying, I was doing this just for you. I wanted to be back with you. I didn't see that as him telling the truth. I saw that as him just like, because we see him even later, he's kind of just begging to be like, just save me, like, just don't kill me. I saw that as him being like, this is all for you. Duh. We didn't have to clone them. Doy, us. I don't know. That's what I perceived it as.
At his core, Maul's character in the Clone Wars and later Rebels only ever craves one thing: revenge against Obi-Wan Kenobi. Kenobi is a character who benefits hugely from the Clone Wars TV show. In the original trilogy, he was mostly a vessel for exposition, showing up at the right moment to let Luke know where the plot wanted him to go next. But he was also a link to the past. When we watch the original trilogy, characters like Obi-Wan and Yoda remind us that there was a galaxy before the Empire, one that the prequel trilogy would later show us. In the prequels, Obi-Wan was a standout character, injecting the movies with humour and wit, while occasionally having lines that were, shall we say, less than Shakespeare?
I have seen a security hologram of him killing younglings.
However, it's not until the Clone Wars that we get the full measure of the man. The series strengthens the bond between Anakin and Obi-Wan on their many adventures together. It shows us Obi-Wan balancing his friendship and duties to Anakin, teaching him as a Jedi during wartime, when things aren't 100% clear and violence is a constant companion. Through characters like Satine, an entirely new side of Obi-Wan is revealed. A man that loved deeply, and who gave up a piece of himself for a commitment he made to the Jedi. We're shown glimpses of this Kenobi through the series, in shared scenes between him and Satine, but we don't truly feel all he has given up until Maul takes it all away from him with finality. This move, for all of Maul's calculating malice, sets the two characters on a path that establishes Maul as a tragic figure, and Obi-Wan Kenobi as a legend.
One of the most interesting things about bringing Maul back was the chance for him to have a big impact on Kenobi as a character. Right. And that, even though it's only a couple of times that they actually meet each other in the Clone Wars.
Maul coming back to the universe by way of Rebels was super interesting because at the time we didn't know if they were going to integrate Kenobi into this. But once again, as it went on, you started to realize that's all he cares about. When they're having these visions of him and Ezra in Rebels of like, you can be told anything you want to be told. He's still trying to find Kenobi. That's what he's looking for. They see the twin sons, and Ezra's like, oh, what does that mean? And Maul's just there taking notes. All right, twin sons. What does two sons? And it is kind of funny and sad in a way that like he's able to do really anything. He's super powerful and awesome, but all he really wants to do is just find Kenobi and kill him. Like,
if you take that backwards a few steps to the Clone Wars, that is really evident. It's like, he's going about his thing, like he's been beaten by Kenobi once, and then you think for a moment he's like, all right, he's been beaten. He's going to go and try something else. And then the second he can, like, he's just like, it's all about Kenobi.
He's just back on that Kenobi shit.
Kenobi, why can't I quit you?
Well, both little kind of trilogies of episodes follow the same sort of thing of him, like, So obviously the first one is very on the nose. It's like comes back to life, kills a bunch of people, sends a taunting message to Kenobi and says, "Come alone."
Right.
Done. And then the second kind of trilogy is sort of similar, but you're kind of like, okay, this is Maul going off doing his own thing. He's going to take over Mandalore. He's going to establish himself. He wants the Jedi away because it's like, well, the Jedi are fighting the war. All these crime lords are not unprotected, but are like running their own thing with no one checking on them.
Right.
This is great. Like the Jedi are off. I can do my own thing. Then he gets to a certain point where he's like, right, now I want the Jedi here.
Yeah.
Like that's it. Now that I've got this perfect thing and nothing's going to mess it up, go get Satine and we're going to put her on a video thing and we're going to show him again and I'm going to get him here and I'm doing it again.
And he's doing it more than 19 years later.
Yeah.
Again, just trying to find Kenobi.
Like his whole thing is just, they're just intrinsically linked.
Which is true because all Obi-Wan really wants is to bring peace and justice to the Republic. But then Maul just wants to kill him. You know, at the end of the day, even all the way to Rebels, Kenobi is on Tatooine with this divine purpose, but Maul has never found that his divine purpose is trying to kill Kenobi. Yeah. But my question to you guys, because he does a lot of stuff. He does the holocron and he messes with Ezra and the team. But what did you think of the final battle between the two?
Have you ever read the comic book Usagi Yojimbo?
No.
It's a Japanese one, Stan Sakai, and it's you'd probably recognize the character because he was also in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon. He's a rabbit who's a ninja, a samurai, and he's like a Ronin samurai. And what they have is loads of issues where you'll have like a panel and it'll be two dudes on either side. Then they'll run towards each other, they'll cross each other, and then one will fall down. And it reminded me of that. It reminded me of those like very quick, like old school samurai fights where it was just like bump, 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 and there's like a bit of a moment, and then one of them collapses. And I was like, that's cool. That is like those samurai movies where you watch them where they look at each other for ages and they like have the battle in their heads, and then it's just like two nights done. Yeah.
Well, it's also very realistic. It's very much. I mean, a lot of sword fights and fights in general don't last that long.
No.
Especially not like
none of mine have gone past 30 seconds.
No.
Yeah.
I liked it. I liked it a lot. It was very, very, like I said, real. And everything that happened had emotion behind it because once again, Maul is just running head first into Kenobi, and we're able to see that, you know, he still can hold his own. He still is that spry Jedi somewhere underneath, and he knew exactly what to do, and he finally took him out. I thought it was very symbolic. I thought it was everything we needed. If it was longer, all we would have gotten out of it was the same thing we got in those small seconds. So I don't think we needed anything else other than that.
I was a big fan actually of the fight, the four-way fight in the like the cargo hold of the ship where they're all kind of cramped in and there's Sarge and then we're all just fighting. It's just kind of breaking away into like the little fights and all that. Obviously the complete opposite of the Rebels fight. But yeah, I really like that. There was some. I haven't rewatched the Clone Wars since the first time I watched it, and I haven't really watched that. I've rewatched an episode now and again with my nephews and stuff. But actually sitting and watching them, I was like, the images on display are incredible. Like those, because there's so many lightsaber fights, but they never feel boring. There's always a real cool artistry to it. So it's in a big space, or it's in a tiny space, or it's upside down, or it's here. And this thing, just having them all like cramped in, and they can't quite move. They haven't got the full range of motion. So yeah, no, that was really cool. I was a big fan of that. Like that's a big bombastic lightsaber fight, and I'm into that. And that was cool.
For sure, 100%. I mean, I have a kind of because I'm big onto these types of fights, especially sword fights, and the longer it goes, the more it exhausts me because I do want to be attached to everything that's happening. When you swing your lightsaber or something at someone to kill them, there's meaning behind every swing, and it can kind of get lost, I feel. So a couple swings, bing, bang, boom, he's done. And they have that moment where Maul kind of reveals a little bit more about his psyche, which is not just, hey, I want to kill you, but I also want to end the Empire. I also want Palpatine to suffer. And is this person that you're guarding the chosen one? And is he going to avenge us? You know, I think that's a beautiful sentiment.
Yeah, that's the bit that got me. And like, it's still like, I've rewatched that episode maybe about 4 or 5 times. And the thing that really weighs heavily on me is all the stuff we've been talking about. It's the Clone Wars stuff. Yeah. Even though they're short interactions, obviously, you know, they're condensed. Everything is kind of up to 11 to a degree in terms of the drama, so that it can have that kind of emotional gravity and payoff. So that when it does finally get to Rebels, it is over in a couple of seconds. But yeah, that reveal, that little reveal that there's respect there, that despite everything, despite all of that thing in Mandalore and trying to, and killing Satine, and literally his goal is to try and make Obi-Wan break. He wants him to turn bad. And it's like, I see that in him. It's like he wants Obi-Wan to flip and go crazy the same way that he did. Despite all of that, there's a respect there still. Because there's something about, I guess, probably the whole Jedi Sith, like that. There's an understanding despite all of it, and the thing that he's gone through, what Palpatine's put him through. Yeah, you're right. Revealing that finally at the end, and you see him go through that in the Clone Wars. You see that pain that he goes through of being like fucking tortured by Palpatine. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, I mean it's incredible for a children's cartoon, you know, right? Like it's like the idea is, you know, children are supposed to watch this, and then you have to be like, you know, oh, the spider leg man has intense PTSD. Let's talk about that. But then he doesn't have PTSD because the witch takes it out of his brain. So we're going to balance those two ideas. And I was saying this to Matt the other day when we were watching it. This is the cartoon I wanted when I was a kid. Like when I watched cartoons, I was always annoyed when like people would just get knocked out, or they would like, you know, they'd fall off something and you'd see they always landed in water, and they always, you know, I was like, I can understand the concepts of life and death. That's totally fine. Don't patronize me, even though I'm a child. Yeah. And then when I was watching this cartoon, and like some of the death in these episodes. The cowering gangster hut where they've got him like at lightsaber point, and then he says something, and Maul's like, "Oh, so you're telling me I can find Jabba at Jabba's palace? Thanks." And Savage just cuts him off. Like, I was like, "Oh my God, that is intense."
Man, Star Wars is cool.
It's really so cool.
You got the real weird, and you got the real deep. And somehow they're able to make them mesh together.
That's it. Oh yeah.
And my final thoughts with this too, I sort of feel like, you know, Dave Filoni, he has characters. He has, you know, the clones. He also has Ahsoka. But I feel like through this time and what he's written for him, Dave Filoni now has Maul as one of his characters. Dave Filoni is the guy who writes for Maul. And I think that's really cool. And I think because of Dave being so connected with everything else, now so is Maul. I think that's awesome.
Maul's return is a masterclass in giving an audience fan service in an unexpected and satisfying way. And it isn't over yet. The next season of The Clone Wars will feature Maul.
I was hoping for Kenobi. Why are you here?
And the hashtag #MakeSolo2Happen campaign gains more traction every day. As Luke Skywalker has now famously stated, no one's ever really gone. And in Star Wars, that is definitely the case. Obi-Wan, Yoda, Qui-Gon, Shmi Skywalker, Anakin, and Maul all reappeared after their deaths to guide or antagonize our heroes. And later this year, Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, has teased the return of Emperor Palpatine.
Master,
I am most impressed to see you have survived your injuries.
I used your training, Master.
Wait a second. Now what do you think that could mean? Thanks for watching, and make sure you subscribe for more on the road to 9. Hit the bell icon so you're notified about future installments, and if you like what we do, you can support us by heading over to our Patreon and contributing. Even a small amount helps keep us producing content now and into the future.
So right now, you guys are actually able to check out my show, Chatter Squadron's first fully produced sketch, 4th of July, Independence Day extravaganza over in America. You know, that's our Independence Day. And we put on a fireworks display for people in my co-host Mike's backyard. But it's a fireworks display for Star Wars. So go ahead and check that out on our YouTube and our Facebook, both at Chatter Squadron.